Hi, I'm Fred Koury, President and CEO of Smart Business Network, and welcome to SmartTalk. My guest today is John Stephenson. John is the CEO and fourth generation leader of diversified holding company W.J. Connell. He also runs a family office that focuses on alternative investments. John, welcome to SmartTalk.
Thanks, Fred. Thank you for having me. It's really fun to be here.
I appreciate you being here this morning. John, the first question I'd like to ask you, can you please share with us your first experience in business?
Sure. Sort of when I was a kid, 8 or 9 years old, I remember, starting with like a lemonade stand. And, because my father was a business guy, an entrepreneur, he very subtly made me think about things like, wow, these little plastic or paper cups cost a little money, and this carton of lemonade and, the ice, where does that come from? So early on in the game, without getting into the specific language, he taught me about revenue and cost and profit. So that sort of set the stage for, I guess, my entrepreneurial journey. And then, I was a camp counselor all through high school. I really enjoyed that. But I also played baseball in the summertime. And when you were a camp counselor, I was there at 8 until 4, for 8 weeks straight, didn't pay very well. And it would occasionally impede on my ability to, go to baseball games. So summer of my senior year into college, a friend and I, we created a painting company. So we sort of painted houses, and we did that through the summer, and it turned out that we made more money. It was probably longer hours, but gave me a little flexibility. And so that's sort of started my entrepreneurial journey.
That's great. What kind of impact do you feel like that's had on the rest of your career?
I think, Fred, because I came from a family of entrepreneurs, I think maybe it's part of it is in my blood, and environmentally, I saw business and business activity just part of our family dynamic, and those experiences I had as a kid. As I went into college, I really, like everybody else, I don't think I really knew what I wanted to do, other than I think I said, geez, I want to be involved in business in some way, shape, or form. And I think the experiences I had, especially with the painting company, gave me an idea of what it meant to sort of have autonomy with a business, but also at the same time, is sort of all the responsibility. If we didn't get the clients, and if we didn't perform, good work, we wouldn't be working. So I think those two things really informed, my career as a business owner.
Good. Many people say that they don't do it by themselves. There's usually a person or more than one person that had a difference on their life, maybe a mentor or someone like that. Is there somebody in particular that stands out in your mind that helped make a difference?
Yeah, there really is. It is my baseball coach in college. And Fred, it was interesting. I don't think I would have ever thought of him as a mentor as I was having the relationship with him, but clearly that's what it was. He was this incredible person that really had the ability to foster belief, and he could foster belief in you before you even believed in yourself. And he didn't not only do that for me and the other players on the team, but he really did that throughout the community. So that was really the first mentor I had that had a real impact on me, and I'm really grateful for that relationship. And then during my business career, especially in our distribution business, when I was younger, I would look to older, more experienced folks that I just sort of admired in one way, shape, or form. I looked at the things that they did that I thought made them really effective. And I tried to glean those attributes. And so that wasn't necessarily an obvious mentor-mentee type of relationship, but I paid a lot of attention, and there are several folks in our industry that I would say they were mentors to me to help me learn how to run a business.
Why do you feel the company's been so successful over time?
I think I really think I would say it's been successful because for probably two main reasons. Number one, I was sort of committed to the process. Like after a brief stint as a banker and then joining our family's firm, I was really sort of committed to this is what I was going to do with my career. And with that was excitement, but also a lot of paranoia. I didn't want to be the idiot generation that imploded our company, which is now in its 118th straight year, which is really sort of fun. So it's that commitment. And I think it's also, I hate to say, oh, I love what I do, but I think that's it. I mean, I do really enjoy what I do. And it's not like you would love it every single day, but it has gotten to the point where the work that I do, and sometimes it's challenging, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's overwhelming, but I would miss it if I wasn't doing it. So it's sort of transitioned from feeling like work to, it doesn't feel like work anymore, even though there are hours in the day and there's a lot of thought and that goes into what we do to try to keep on being successful.
Is there one specific accomplishment that you can look back at and say, wow, this is amazing? Yeah,
I think the one I'm really most proud of is that, in the late 2000s, 2008, 2009, our industry was really going through a lot of turmoil. At one point, there had been 20 ownership groups that represented the manufacturers in our industry, in specific regions. That had got down to 6. Our company was one of the final 6, but you could see this migration towards more consolidation and disruption. And I saw, I could see this early in the game. And so I had a vision of taking one of my companies, which was called Atlantic Power at the time, and I wanted to merge it with a colleague in the industry, in which I felt we could create a platform company that would facilitate a natural roll-up in a very productive way and yield a better company. And I'm really proud of that because that and ultimately, Fred, we did that. We've created a company called Power Distributors. It is now a national platform. I was really, I think, the catalyst to getting the company off the ground. But I'm a co-founder and equity partner with my business partners. The company does about $250 million in revenue. And on any given day, we can ship out 20,000 packages a day. I really love the company's culture. It has a very small family business feel, even though we've expanded to, we've got 400 employees and a very, very talented team. So I think that is, I think, the accomplishment I'm most proud of at this point, because that required a real transition and a lot of uncertainty. And Fred, it was 3 years in the making. It took a long time to sort of put the pieces together to make things happen. But once things started to happen, it really started to take off. And that was very exciting.
John, a lot of times with those accomplishments, there's bumps in the road. Is there a past mistake or something that you can point out and share with us that, wow, I wish I wouldn't have done this?
Yeah. When you ask that, I immediately, we're a diversified holding company. We do a lot of different things, and we've had a lot of great success. But I've made some mistakes. I've taken some risks that has not worked out. And I was going to pick, one of those scenarios, but I don't think that's exactly right, because in those scenarios, I think we knew the calculated risk that we were taking, and we knew that there was a good chance that this thing we were going to do wasn't going to work out. So I think actually, some of my failures of leadership are more on the day-to-day level. When I'm not at my best, and or I'm sort of taking certain things for granted, or my communication skills with people I work with, those aren't good. A simple example is, getting an email that has tone and maybe a little nastiness to it. And then, the response to sort of email back with in like kind. And every time I'm using that as a metaphor, I've done that, but every time I do something like that, I end up regretting it after the fact. So, and I'm still not perfect at that, but I think that's the real challenge of a leader. Can you, sort of maintain the demeanor and the responsibility that you have for the organization, the people that you work with, all the time? Not easy to do. But I think I'm hopefully better now than I was 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
What motivates you? What motivates you personally as well as professionally?
I think I tend to be a very curious person, and in addition, I'm competitive. I think I'm competitive with myself and competitive with challenges, And I think it's those two things, Fred, that really sort of drive me, and it drives me to want to continue. So I've been doing this thing at Connell Company for almost 30 years. Started young in the early 90s. The company that I run now is it's completely 100% different than where I started. But I think I almost feel like I'm at the beginning again. Where okay, now we've gone through transition. We're a new spot. We have to do different and new things. We've had some distribution businesses. Like I had one that I sold 2 years ago. At some point, power distributors might be a business that I love, but that might get sold as well. So, and I don't, I think part of the, I've been on this journey for 4 generations. I don't know, I got 2 kids. I don't know what their plans are. I have no plans for them to come in, but I do want to make sure that I create something that's continuing to thrive, hopefully beyond me. And I think that sort of drives me, Fred, and that would spill into my personal life as well.
So as far as your personal life, any passions, hobbies? I know you had mentioned you're interested in golf. Is that something that you play competitively, or is there anything else?
Well, I think my family is very important to me. My wife and my kids and our extended family. So, being a part of their lives growing up. And I have a daughter in college. My son just graduated from high school. So, we're in transition from them being, kids and at home to becoming young adults. So, I really enjoy doing things with my family and friends. As an ex, I played baseball in college. I played a ton of sports in high school. I do really love golf because that ends up being a fun, competitive, sports-like activity for me. I enjoy working out. I enjoy moving and staying active. So I do like quite a few things outside of work.
Have you ever had any aha moments when it comes to your work-life balance? Maybe spending a little bit too much time on the work side and kind of redirecting yourself?
Yeah, that's I think I don't know if it was just pure luck or happenstance, but I remember being in high school and college, and especially right after college, I had a number of friends that took different tracks, especially in the realm of investment banking, where I saw that their career pathway was immediately 80 to 100 hours a week, and lots of travel, and really they were doing interesting work and still do. But I saw like, wow, that's a lot of time away from your family, and if your family is important to you, boy, that's a tough trade-off. And so for me, right out of the gate, I wanted to. I don't think of work-life balance as a linear thing. Like I want to do 60% work and 40%, other things. I think it has to be some sort of integration. You don't always get it right, but I think you want your work and your outside of work life to integrate in such a way that feels right, both to yourself and other people in your life. And I think I've been very fortunate to have that. When we did the power distributors deal early on, and when we started the roll up, I began working almost entirely remotely. So that was, a good thing. So I have an office right at home. We do have offices as well that I do go to. But so I think the aha moment for me was, how do you integrate your life and your work so it's a whole, and it's not you're not bisecting it into 2 different things.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that with me. What about sleeping at night? What keeps you up at night?
Well, I like to construct my business, friend, so I can't sleep. Sleep. I love sleep. It's one of my favorite things to do. However, as you know, if you own a business, there are sleepless nights, and I have them. I think that what the sleepless nights I have are when we've placed some big bets on something, on a deal, on a company, on a real estate development, or something. And then there's a black swan event that you can't predict that changes the game. Even though you go into things knowing that a black swan can occur, until it happens, and what those realities may foist upon you, you don't know what that's like. So, I think if I am in a worrying mood, it's the uncertainty of the future that none of us can predict. And today, given the dynamics of our politics and what's going on in the country, and that we've got 24/7 information being bombarded at us all the time, I think we may feel that things feel a lot more uncertain than they ever have been before. I'm not sure if that's true, but maybe it feels that way. So there are times, like anybody else, I'm human. I sort of worry about what's going to happen and what impact that might have, and that sort of when you think about it in that way, you have a lack of control, and that lack of control sort of makes you nervous and it may keep you up. So,
John, when you're running a holding company, a family office, you work out, you've got kids, you've got this balance you're focusing on. How do you prioritize what you're going to work on each day?
I think I prioritize, I sort of break things up into what's important, but not urgent, what's important and urgent, and then what's the rest of it. And there's lots of things that I do not get to, but I do try to prioritize and keep first things first. Especially if there's an element of real risk that we have in a deal, in a company, or a piece of real estate. If I don't feel that is really settled, that ends up just being by default. It's always my top of mind. So those things that I think are most critical, that could have a real positive and or negative impact, those are the things that never leave my mind. I like to get through those things so they're settled, and then we take a step back and think about how we're organized. Like you had mentioned the family office. I started a family office last year. Fred, I did that not knowing what a family office does, right? I still don't know. I still don't want to know. I've done a little research, and for us, it's like I'm not quite sure what our family office is going to be. But for me, it is sort of aspirational. It's like, look, whatever we do, I want it to be, I want it to be cool and great. What that ultimately ends up being, I'm not sure. But over the past year, we're working with a multifamily office group. We're developing great relationships with some new colleagues, and these are the things that we're exploring.
How would you describe the difference between success and significance?
I think success is a tricky word in our society. We like to use the word success. I think success means different things for different people. As we talked about, you can be very successful in business or financially, but if it comes at the expense of other things that are important to you, are you really successful? And significance, everybody wants to be heard and seen and wants to feel important and be significant. So, for me, success more it's a journey. It's not a destination. Success is it's the little things you do every day that sort of have this compounding effect that has real benefit. And I think, for significance, I think you're better off keeping significance local, right? Rather than you saying, geez, I want to change the world. It's like, well, why don't you try to change and have an impact on something that's a lot more closer to you, like having a little extra patience with a child, or donating some of your time and taking your skills and doing it in a way that can be helpful to other folks. So it's a good question, Fred. I don't have a great answer, but I think success, like I said, is more of a journey, and I think all of us can be very significant in our local communities.
Thanks, John. Someone shared with me in our epitaph, it's that little dash that's in the middle of when we were born and when we died. What they say about us right there, that should be significance. I thought that was an interesting answer. Anyways, I want to thank you for some smart talk today and see if there's anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap it up.
No, Fred, this has been a really fun conversation. Thank you for inviting me on. And it was, I really appreciate it.
Thanks, John, and best wishes of future success.
Thanks, Fred.